Thank you, Chair, and welcome everybody. Mr. Watt, it's fair to say that you are not the Secretary-General who presided over any of this historic nursing home or disability issue. Would that be fair to say? Not in the Department of Health?
So these are depending on which issue.
I think that's yes or no. You haven't presided historically. You're only in. How long are you in the position?
These are
of Sec-Gen?
matters that go back to 1953. I haven't been around that long.
Yeah.
Definitely,
no.
absolutely.
So how long are you Sec-Gen in the department?
It seems longer, but 2 years it would seem.
Sure it does.
2 years it would seem. Yeah.
2 years. So, in preparing the brief for the Attorney General, would you have been instrumental in that? This new report from the Attorney General, or who was involved in that?
Yes. So the colleagues in the department would have inputted into the attorney's report. Yes.
And yourself?
I wasn't directly involved with the attorney, but over the weekend I was involved with colleagues, with Ms McArdle in particular, in terms of...
Is that brief available? Is that brief
The attorney's report was published on Tuesday.
No, the brief that was provided for the Attorney General. Is that available?
So there's ongoing engagement between officials in our department and the Attorney's Office in relation to this legal issue over many years.
No, the question I asked was, is the brief that was provided to the Attorney General in order this report,
Sure.
so he probably got it in the last fortnight, is that being made publicly available, or to this committee or to the elected representatives, yes or no?
So there were.
I haven't much time now, and I am being cursory and I'm being very candid. I'm asking a binary question. Is the brief as provided to the AG available to the elected representatives?
Yeah, so there's a brief, Deputy, that was made available to the Minister, and I believe the Minister is going to publish that. He's giving a statement this afternoon, and he's going to, I think, publish it after he gives.
So that's the brief. The brief that was provided to the Minister is the brief that was provided to the AG in the advice that was then given in the report.
No, so there's ongoing management of this issue between our department.
Do you not understand the question, Mr. Watt?
No, I'm just, there's no brief, there's no one brief, there's ongoing discussion between officials in our department and the Attorney's Office. So it's ongoing, Deputy, it's not there's one brief.
Because what I find extraordinary, it's 192 paragraphs, Chair, is what the Attorney General's report is, and the issue that we're discussing is whether people who had paid for private nursing home care because they couldn't get a public bed was never addressed in the report. That's the real issue. And it's not addressed in any of the 192 paragraphs. What's addressed was your strategy employed to avoid the payment for the illegal charges, or as you say, having acted ultra vires. But to normal people, their interpretation of that, and it's been said to me by a constituent, the government stole money and didn't give it back. And there was a strategy developed in order not to give it back. And what the Attorney General doesn't discuss in any shape or form in 192 paragraphs is the fact he addresses that people made a choice to go in to private nursing homes. He never mentions the fact that that choice had to be made on foot of not having a public bed available. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, Deputy, would I agree with what you just said? No, I don't agree with what you just said.
You don't agree with it? You don't? Which part don't you agree with?
I think most of it.
Okay, so the assertion that you're saying that people went in to private nursing homes by choice.
So there's a number of things that you said, Deputy. So in relation to the ultra vires question, that was addressed in the context of the redress fund. So people who were in public homes.
It wasn't really. It wasn't really. All was addressed was the fact that it was ultra vires. The actions that were to follow that was the people were to be repaid. That was the recommendation.
So the people who were
well, okay, we'll move on because they weren't, and that's why we're here today. But I want to question.
Sorry, Deputy.
I have 5 minutes left, Mr. Watt. Okay. I'm asking the questions. Well, Fintan O'Toole published an article, and in 2004, a brief was prepared by the department. By the board of the Department of Health is how it's put in the newspaper, to go, they prepared, sorry, a letter that the SecGen was supposed to send to the Attorney General for advice. Now, the minutes of the meeting record that it was signed and sent by the SecGen. They're the minutes, but it never happened, did it? In 2004, that never happened. Now, I know you weren't available, you weren't around, but I'm asking, what is the answer to that question?
So I understand there were issues around different views as to what advice
there
was sent
issues.
or not.
There was a minuted record from the department's management committee who prepared a letter for the Attorney General asking for a definitive ruling. The draft was sent to the SecGen for his signature, and the committee's minutes record in March of 2004 that the letter had been signed and sent. But it wasn't, and nobody has ever explained it. May I have an explanation? How do the minutes differ from the actual facts? Or, because this goes to the heart of transparency and what's real, what isn't, what's concealed and what isn't. Why is the minute different from what actually happened?
So Deputy, are you asking me to comment on an email that was sent or wasn't sent 19 years ago?
No, I'm not. I'm asking you why the record, the minuted record from the department, differs from what actually happened, and no explanation has ever been given. That's what I'm asking.
I don't recall.
Well, I don't know how you could recall. You weren't there, but I'm sure it has come up in all of the briefings that have been prepared. This is, remember now, the media.
This was the matter that was dealt with in the John Travers report, 2005.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I remember. I haven't read the report in a while. I don't recall exactly.
It's not about the report.
There was a disagreement then, or there was uncertainty about what happened. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
There wasn't uncertainty. There was a minuted record. A minuted record, which means we take minutes to justify in the history what actually happened. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what minutes are for? To tell us what actually happened a month on, a year on, or in this case, 25 years on, you could say. The minuted record says that the AG was sent a letter by the SecGen, signed and sent a letter. That's what the minute says. But that didn't happen, did it?
If that's what you say,
I've no understanding of what.
The point about this is.
Sorry, could we seek clarification on that?
We need not just clarity. It goes to the heart of transparency, because what's in the media and for the public, the issue here is what we're calling concealment. So how do we have a Secretary General in a department who's preparing a brief for an AG who doesn't have all the facts? And who isn't clear that this did or didn't happen?
But if I understand that the letter was in relation to seeking advice from the AG in relation to nursing home charges and legal strategy, there have been many correspondence between the department, Secretary General.
And would the minutes be wrong? Would the minutes often be wrong then? Is that what you're saying? The minutes are often wrong and it never gets clarified.
Well, I don't know the minutes. I haven't read the minutes, and I don't know exactly what you referred to. So I'm not going to comment on it.
So in fairness, when minutes are agreed, they're agreed. Are you saying that it's possible that the minutes were wrong?
No, I never
and they're
said,
often wrong, and nobody bothers.
I never said such thing. No.
So why wouldn't you be aware? I mean, if the minutes of a department are wrong,
happened 19 years ago.
It goes to the core of transparency within the department itself. Like, clearly the minutes had to be made up. Well, if the letter was never sent, somebody was under the illusion or disillusion at the end of it. Why was the minute wrong? Or why, more to the point, Mr. Watt, was it never corrected?
So I think so. Look, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know.
Would you consider it serious?
I don't know the circumstances of it, so I'm not going to comment, because that would be unfair to the people involved for me to comment 19 years later.
Well, I didn't ask you to comment on that. If the minuted record was incorrect and never corrected and never explained, would you consider it to be serious? If what you're saying here today is not recorded properly, and then somebody said Mr. Watt said this, would you not consider that serious?
I don't really know, Chair, what I've been asked here. I don't
What
wish
you're
to be
being asked
disrespectful.
is why
It's a direct question.
a department would stand and preside over incorrect records and not be accountable or explain same.
But these matters were addressed in detail by the Travis report 2005.
Never addressed, never explained.
Okay,
In the same way that the
They were
report goes
addressed-
on
they were
to
addressed-
state
they were
that the
addressed in the report.
ombudsman, that there were briefs withheld from the ombudsman when that report was commissioned. So for me, there's an awful lot of explanation required, Mr. Watt, that I understand you didn't preside over, but as the now accounting officer in the department, these have to be explained.
We're happy to
Okay.
explain, Chair.
And that's what I'm asking.
Happy to explain
We're going over
any
time,
matter.
already. Going way over.
So we are, Chair. So what we need is an explanation as to why the minuted record in 2004 that was prepared was completely at odds with what actually happened.
Okay.
And the article states it was never explained and no one was held accountable. I'm sure no one's going to be held accountable, but we want it explained.
Sorry, which article are we?
The article that Fintan O'Toole writes in the Irish Times, because I'm pretty sure that if it's an incorrect article, there'll be a defamation case by somebody. But clearly, it's set out as fact that the minuted record was incorrect and never explained. And nobody was ever held accountable as to why the facts were incorrect.
Well, I can't comment on that because I don't know if your description of what happened is correct or not, but I'll check.
If you can revert to the committee.
Chair, I'll come back to you.
Just with a detailed note on that. Thank you.